want to find where we were. Okay. This is Rameshwar Prabhu speaking. And this is after he left for Bombay. But this is their argument, that the standard in America is that you become learned in different fields, science, music, art, and literature. This standard of culture and education is coming from the idea of the Renaissance in Europe. But in our Hare Krishna movement, we are isolating ourselves from these things and simply reading one set of literature, Krishna. This was the complaint. Prabhupada, this other is not culture. As soon as you change, that means it is not culture. It is mano-dharma, mental concoction. Yes, we want to stop your nonsense. That is our mission. Those who are intelligent, they have taken, and you also take. Rameshwar raised the objection that Krishna-conscious children are not prepared to go to public schools and universities. And Srila Prabhupada replied that they were being saved. What if they want to change later in their life, asked Rameshwar. They have become Krishna-conscious from the very beginning, Prabhupada replied. That is the perfection of life. They are perfect from the very beginning of their life. And you are going to school and to college, but you are becoming most uncivilized, like cats and dogs, becoming naked and having sex on the street. So what is the value of that education? Stop all these colleges and universities. As soon as they are stopped, it is better for human beings. Rameshwar. They say that if we claim our members are gentlemen, then why is it that they go to the airport and bother so many people? Prabhupada, they are not bothering, they are educating. When a thief is advised, kindly do not become a thief, he takes it as botheration, but it is good advice. Rameshwar. They say it is invasion of privacy. Every man has the right to think the way he wants. Prabhupada. Yes, therefore I have got the right to think like this and sell books. Rameshwar. So if I do not want to hear your philosophy, why do you impose it? Prabhupada. It is not imposing. It is good philosophy. We are canvassing. Take it. You will be benefited. And they are being benefited. Those who are reading, they are being benefited. And why are you advertising big signboards? Please come and purchase. Why are you imposing your so-called goodness on us? Why you are doing? Back and forth the battle went hour after hour, Rameshwar unleashing all the arguments against the Krishna conscious movement and Srila Prabhupada defeating them. Prabhupada called the arguments childish and foolish, and he strongly criticized the materialistic demeanor from which they sprang. By Shastra and logic, he proved that the non-devotee has no good qualities and is less than an animal because of his lack of God consciousness. Such a person, he said, was in no position to criticize, and such criticism only showed ignorance of the real purpose of human life. The train stopped in Mud, Jalgaon, and Kangdwa, as well as other small towns and junctions. And for Prabhupada and his disciples, the day passed quickly in discussion. Prabhupada was absorbed in defending the Krishna consciousness movement. He relished fighting on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. He was speaking, of course, mainly for the benefit of his disciples. But beyond that, he was expressing his compassion for all beings and his dedication to the Krishna consciousness movement. They are spending so much for military strength, Prabhupada continued. They are not performing yajna. So how will there be rainfall? There will be warfare, devastation. It is a most rubbish civilization. They are misleading everyone. Soul killing. It is the blind leading the blind. Even when there is difficulty, we have to do this as Krishna's business. Let the dogs bark on. We don't care. If we remain sincere to Krishna, that is our victory. The external result is not so important. We have to act according to the direction. Of course, we want to see good results. But even if there is no good result, we don't mind. We must be sincere to Krishna, that we have done our best without cheating. That is our duty. As servants, we should not cheat the master, result or no result. The devotee is not sorry if there is no result. Never mind, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. I have brought to Benares the Harinam, But here they are all Mayavadis. So if it is not accepted, all right, I shall take it back. But we must do our best canvassing work. Please take it. That is our mission. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada speaking trailed off into chanting japa. He would chant for a while and then bring up another point. Rameshwar Swami continued to stir the controversies, anxious to fortify his own convictions and preaching ability by hearing directly from Srila Prabhupada. Very often, Rameshwar said, they will say it is not religion that we are concerned with, but it is brainwashing and mind control. You are chanting so many hours a day. What is it to you? Prabhupada interrupted sharply. That is my business. Why do you bother yourself? Rameshwar, but you are not giving these young people a chance to think when they chant for so many hours. Prabhupada, you are thieves. You are coming to kidnap. Why shall I give you a chance? They are chanting, but you are charging brainwash. You ask them, don't chant. That is your business, but that you cannot do. Rameshwar, but they say that takes away freedom to think. Prabhupada, that is controversy. But you want to take his freedom and still you are accusing us. You get that point? People were being kidnapped. They're accusing us of control, and yet they're kidnapping. Prabhupada said that at first there should be a test of what is genuine religion. We say, said Prabhupada, that the law given by God is religion. And it does not matter what name is given to God. If we say Krishna, that does not mean that he is not God. So before there is a challenge to Krishna consciousness, there should be an assembly discussion and decision as to what is genuine religion. We say that God is one, and whatever he has given as law, that is religion. Rameshwar. But the Christians say that according to the Bible, if God wanted us to believe in Krishna, he would have told us on Mount Sinai, and he would have told us through Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I am the only way. Prabhupada, that's all right. But Jesus Christ did not explain more to you because you are rascals. You cannot follow even his one instruction, thou shalt not kill. It is not the foolishness of Jesus Christ, but because you are so rascal, you cannot understand him. Therefore he avoided you rascals, because whatever he said you cannot follow. So what you will understand. Therefore he stopped speaking. Rameshwar, they also say that you are ruining family life. Prabhupada, that's all right. We are entering Krishna's family. Hari Sari. But if you are actually followers of God, why are you breaking up families? Shouldn't you have love for everyone? Rameshwar, one of the commandments is that one shall honor thy father and mother. Prabhupada replied that the devotee loves his mother and father by teaching them Krishna consciousness. Hari Sari. My mother testified to that. When I was at home, she said I was impossible to live with. When she saw me afterwards, I was very nice. Prabhupada. Many. I agree with his father and mother also. Rameshwar. My parents think like that too. I could have no relationship with them before, but now that I am a devotee, I actually want to help them. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 3, Text 1. Chapter titled, The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Uddhava uvacha tataksa agatya parang svapitros chikirsayashang baladeva sangyuta Nipatya tungari puyuttanatang Hatang vyakashad vyasum ojasorvyam Uddhava uvacha tataksa agatya parang sapitros Chikirshyashang baladeva sangyuta Nipatya tunga ripuyutanatang Atang vikarshad vyasu ojasurvyam Please chant. Uddhava uvacha tataksa agatya parang sapitros Chikirshyashang baladeva sangyuta Nipati tunga ripuyutanatang Atang vikashad vyasumo jasurvyam Uddhava uvacha tataksa agatya parang sapitro Chikirshyashang baladeva sangyuta Nipati tunga ripuyutanatang Hatang vikashad vyasumo jasurvyam Uddhava uvacha tataksa agatya parang sapitros Chikirshyashang baladeva sangyuta Nirpatya tunga ripuyutanatang Atang vikashad vyasumo jasurvyam Uddhava uvacha Sri Uddhava said, Tatak, thereafter, Sa, the Lord, Agatya, coming, Puram, to the city of Mathura, Swapitro, own parents, Chikirshaya, wishing well, Sang, well-being, Baladeva Sangyuta, with Lord Baladev, Nipatya, dragging down, Tungat, from the throne, Ripuyuta, Ripuyutanatam, leader of public enemies, Hatam, killed, Vikarshat, pulled, Vyasum, dead, Ojasa, by strength, Uravyam, on the ground. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sri Uddhava said, thereafter Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev, and to please their parents they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength. King Kamsa's death purport. King Kamsa's death is only briefly described here because such pastimes are vividly and elaborately described in the 10th canto. The Lord proved to be a worthy son of his parents, even at the age of 16 years. Both brothers, Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev, went to Mathura from Vrindavan and killed their maternal uncle, who had given so much trouble to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. Kamsa was a great giant, and Vasudeva and Devaki never thought that Krishna and Balaram would be able to kill such a great and strong enemy. When the two brothers attacked Kamsa on the throne, their parents feared that now Kamsa would finally get the opportunity to kill their sons, whom they had hidden for so long in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The parents of the Lord, due to parental affection, felt extreme danger, and they almost fainted. Just to convince them that they had actually killed Kamsa, Krishna and Baladev pulled Kamsa's dead body along the ground to encourage them. Om Jnana Tamrandasya Garanjana Shakaya Chakshurna Tamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Banghum Lanke Tegaram Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Diratanam. So there's a nice transition, Lord Krishna's pastimes, out of Vrindavan. So here, at this point, we see that they're approximately 16 years of age. And they're going off to the big city, Mathura. Vrindavan is a very simple village. Still, in one sense, a simple village. Now complicated, of course, by the onslaught of tourist civilization. It's not industrial. It's not that there are many, many factories that are coming up, but due to the increasing popularity brought about by the renaissance of Krishna consciousness, inaugurated by the Krishna conscious movement, as implemented by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We see that Vrindavan has become so popular that it has expanded its residential capacity with so many big, big buildings. So in one sense, we can get a sense of how the gopis felt. When they also, because at different times, the gopis would visit Mathura, or they would go out for some festival like the Kurukshetra, and they would see all the accoutrements, of the armies or the municipalities, the big buildings, the gates, the elephants, the horses. All these things are absent in Vrindavan village. So now we go to Vrindavan and we see, yes, these things are not Vrindavan-like. They're more urban-like. Okay? So they have a term for that type of encroaching industrialization. Prabhupada said horrible works, ugra karma. Ugra karma. So even though it indicates that Vrindavan has increased in popularity, at the same time, it just spoils the mood. And therefore that's why the gopis lamented, in one sense, that we'd like Krishna to come back to Vrindavan. We don't want to see him here in this setting, royal setting. Because they have a certain mood. So we also have that mood in that sense. We see that when we go to our temple, Krishna Balaram Mandir, Krishna is there with Baladev, and it's a very simple, it is not very complicated. There are no elephants there. There are no big, big chariots. There's no Rath Yatra there. But it is simply, the biggest festival in Vrindavan is Gopastami. Govardhan Puja. So these are the big festivals. And we understand how Krishna emphasized this to the extent that when Nanda Maharaj was eager to celebrate the Indra Puja, the Indra Yagya, which was the traditional affair of the villagers, that Krishna, he realigned that affair and said, no, we should be worshiping Govardhan, which is the source of our livelihood. So he wanted to bring everything back to a local, natural focus. In that sense, we could see that Krishna was an advocate for what? Ecology, green thinking, local, not trying to depend on some outside situation for the inhabitants of Braj. And practically speaking, one of the things that devotees like to do when they go to Vrindavan is they like to go shopping. And why? Because things there are, you see, that there are still handmade goods. And when you get something, it's not necessarily machine-made. It's all, you can go to the tailor, and he'll take your measurements, and he'll sew you a kurta. And everything is done right there. It's not all by some factory. So this is the way it should be. People are interdependent. The farmer grows his produce, and then he trades that, barters that for some other necessity which he is not making, or some other service for which he is not expert. And in this way, everybody works together, cooperatively. So this is the meaning of simple living. In an instant, in a situation like we have here, everything can be stopped. Food will disappear off the shelves if the trucks stop and have a strike. Right? This is the threat. So people have to stock up because they cannot produce anything. So if the trucks, when you slice, you slice, don't chop. You have to slice. Then you don't get that clack. So there's the clack. In any case, so we have to try to appreciate what it means to be self-sufficient. So Prabhupada was an advocate for this as well. So he always considered that our farm projects are very important, for setting an example for the general mass of people. Of course, the temple in the city is a different type of situation. Here, we're meant to attract people and educate them so that they get the understanding how they should manage their lives. And then they can integrate into the varna-ashram system. It is that. And many people will take to that naturally. They have some affinity. Everyone likes the country. It's the mode of goodness. So people, as they become a little purified, they're attracted because it is the mode of goodness. And so they may, after some time, feel that, the city life is not for me. Too much disturbance. And city life is for the preachers. Prabhupada said like that. He used to, and of course Maharaj knows in New Vrindavan what they said. Prabhupada said if they cannot preach, they should go to the plow department. And so there we had New Vrindavan. And so many people didn't like to stay in the cities. And so they went to the plow department. But it is not that the plow department is some inferior occupation, no. They are the same philosophy but people feel satisfied, engaged in that way, as opposed to distributing books or some other activity for which they have to remain in the city. But for those who are, prepared to sacrifice their material and mental comfort, then Prabhupada gives some special mercy to those frontline preachers. Right? Just like you have so-called frontline healthcare workers. Everyone praises them. Why? What is it is just there's a doctor here, there's a doctor there, but then this doctor in the country, he's delivering babies and he's taking care of simple medical situations. But then there are those who are dealing with like so-called pandemic, who have to be exposed and who recognize the threat but yet continue to serve in their appointed capacity. So that takes a certain type of conviction, dedication. So the preachers of the Krishna conscious movement who choose to remain in the city, they are frontline because they understand that there is some danger in preaching in this environment. And any time they can be chastised by some, as we've seen when you're plowing the field, no one's going to spit on you. But in the city here, when you're distributing books, sometimes you have to tolerate so much. One time we were distributing books on the subway, and we could tell people were watching. And they were envious. Why? Because we're collecting Laxmi. And many people are begging, but some people aren't, they want to let other people beg, and then they want to rob. So we used to have what they call Laxmi Bags. And all the ladies used to sew us these different, and we would wear them underneath our kurtas. We would have book bags on top of our kurtas, crisscrossed. It was a source of entertainment for all the cartoonists in New York. And we would appear regularly, and they would overload it like that. So these crisscross book bags, one on each growing cross. And then underneath our kurtas, we would have crisscrossed what they call Laxmi bags, narrow bags where we would put the Laxmi in between, because we were out all day, no place to stop, and a lot of it was, change in those days. So they would be quite heavy. But one fellow was watching, and he saw my godbrother, how he had put the Laxmi under his kurta. And so he tried to rob him. He tried to tackle him. But my godbrother was he was quite strong. And so this fellow realized that he was not going to succeed in this regard. It was actually quite a dangerous situation, because we're on the subway platform. And in the course of the fighting, they rolled off the platform onto the tracks. And so, of course, any time a train can come by, but you have to be ready to fight for Krishna in one sense and do whatever is necessary. So he immediately executed some move which forced this person to release him. And that person ran up and ran off into the tunnel. Because many people live in the subway system, in the tunnels. They're homeless and whatnot. It's a whole subterranean culture in New York City, just like rats. Just like the rats live in the tunnel, they have these people live in the tunnels. So such things are there. Such dangers are there in preaching in New York City. Even Bhakti Dylan was accosted recently. He was mugged. And it's quite disturbing. But this is it's the dangers of serving the spiritual master. Just like Sudama, Vipra, and Krishna, they were out collecting firewood, and they got lost or distracted, and nightfall came, and the storm came, and they had to spend the night in each other's company in this way until the other teachers from the Guru, the other students, along with Sandipani Muni, came and found them. And then they were recognized and praised by the teacher, how much he could understand their sacrifice by engaging. And these are not, even though they're young boys, but they're Vaishyas, they're the sons of Nanda Maharaj. He's the leader of the cowherd men. He's a king. So such uncomfort, but to please the spiritual master, they didn't mind. And so the spiritual master recognized. So we should understand these are all instructive lessons. We may not, it's not that we all will receive some individual appreciation from the spiritual master necessarily. And one should not seek it. This is not why we do devotional service, to get some acknowledgement, to feed our ego. One should engage in such a way, as Srila Prabhupada often reminded us, that Krishna sees us. In the same way we consider that as well, that I don't need to have constant affirmation and reaffirmation from the spiritual master to continue my service. I don't need to be artificially encouraged. You see some persons will only do such service, or any service, as long as they're getting this type of recognition. And then as soon as the spiritual master disappears, they're gone. And Prabhupada warned us in that regard. He said, when I leave, many of my disciples will also leave. And everyone was shocked to hear this. Because at that time we're thinking, who will do that? Who will leave? But the fact is, many left. And Prabhupada told us, he said, don't be surprised who leaves, be surprised who stays. So this is how we can understand how Srila Prabhupada also was so dedicated to his spiritual master. He wasn't receiving constant, encouragement from either his guru or his godbrothers. But because he had accepted the orders of his spiritual master's life and soul, nothing else was necessary. That determination Dridha vrataha. Dridha vrataha. If one can develop this by realization, appreciation, dedication, then he will not be disturbed, even as we're reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita, by the allurement of Maya Devi herself. Maya Devi is everywhere. It's not that she's some single individual. She inhabits the mentality of every living entity, and she can manifest through that living entity anytime she wants. And we see it all the time. If you're anyone who's on the internet sees how Maya Devi pops up, every few minutes, practically speaking. Right? This is the nature of Maya. She's there. It becomes more prevalent now because in the past, like in the story of Ajamil, it wasn't a regular, observance that someone would see there's people having illicit sex on the common road. Now it is everywhere. But in those days, at the time of Ajamil, we don't even know what yuga this is happening in, but it's quite some time ago. That he became affected even though he was a Brahmin studying. He'd been born in that situation. But as soon as he saw that Sudra and Sudrani embracing, that seed was planted in his mind, and he could not escape it, that vision. So this was just an indication of what pornography is. Now everyone can understand how they have huge businesses built on curing people of pornography addiction. And we can see how detrimental it is. Anyone can see. Any intelligent man can see. But only those who are strong internally can avoid this poison. Because it is everywhere. He has to have that ability to bring his mind, vyavasayamika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. He has to develop that focus. And anyone who is a successful person, he understands that. If one cannot control his mind, then he cannot be successful in any endeavor. This is the first point of yoga. This is our whole focus for chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. To cleanse the heart, to cleanse the mirror of the heart, which is, we can understand how it's reflected in our mental activities, our mental thoughts, thinking, feeling, and willing. It is the vow of the sannyas. It is represented by the tree danda. Mind, body, actions, words, these things are there. And so one has to engage everything in the service of Krishna. Because if there is any deficiency in any one of those areas, then Maya has an open door. And she doesn't need to knock. She just has to come in. It's like a thief. A thief doesn't knock on your door. He knows how to pick the lock. He knows how to break it down. He knows how to get in through some unguarded entrance. So one has to, just like at night we go around, myself, Ram Roy and others, we check all the doors in the temple. Everything is locked. Why? Because any thief can come in. So to the extent we take care to protect our material situation, lock everything up, one has to take care to make sure that all vulnerable access through his mental or emotional or his physical, all those things are properly guarded. And that's why Gurukul training is essential. Brahmacharya Gurukuli. Because there he learns how to control his mind. Yes, everywhere there is Maya, but we don't dwell on it. We don't follow it along. You can see on the street. You see every pretty girl that walks by, the man is looking like this. He cannot help it. Just like a dog. A dog cannot control his senses. And so a man who acts like a dog, he has no hope in that regard. He cannot be saved unless he gets some agyata sukriti through the efforts of the preachers who are in the city, who are taking the time to approach them, to interrupt his journey towards Yamalok. Because that is the fate for all these denizens of, this is not New York, it's Naraka York. It's a hellish place. Cities are hellish places. But yet, Srila Prabhupada came right here into the middle. They call it the belly of the beast. All the sinful activities. And Prabhupada did not know good neighborhood, bad neighborhood. And he asked him, yes, find some good neighborhood. Yeah, and they directed him to the Lower East Side. But that was Krishna's arrangement. It was not that these young men or women knew. No. Somehow or other, Prabhupada was directed here because that's where the seeds, that's why the Lilamrita is called planting the seed. Those seeds were already planted by Krishna's arrangement. And Prabhupada was there to harvest them, water them, nurture them. So this is in this way. This Krishna conscious movement has sprung up magically in that sense. Who can understand? Just like in the description in the previous chapter, Prabhupada described these demons as wizards. Everyone is preoccupied by wizards. They could change shape, adopt any form they wanted. They could grow in size. They could become invisible. You see, even Shurpanaka, she's an ugly demoness, but she changed her body to be very attractive just to try to capture Ram But yet she was so. Anyway, there were so many analogies. One can pick and choose how he likes to view Maya. The idea is that although she is the teacher, she should be seen as an adversary. Just like mock fighting. When there's military war games, some people have to take the opposing side. Although they are the same, Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever. But some people accept the role as the enemy in order to have realistic engagement, to probe for the weakness, so that you can learn how to defend. You adopt the tactics and strategy of the enemy, and then you have those mock war games. So in this way, where Maya is constantly presenting those temptations that we need to learn how to tolerate, avoid, recycle in Krishna service. If one is that advanced, he can easily use everything in Krishna service, which is how we see Srila Prabhupada giving us that formula. But it is not for the neophyte. He cannot engage Maya with any hope of success. Maya will overwhelm him in an instant. I had one devotee, because my service was variegated. I used to do investigations. So I found one devotee, he had pornography on his phone. And so I was just using it for, what was his excuse? It was something like, I was using it to see how for another investigation. I said, this is not your service, what are you thinking? No, I had to see how it was. And he kept digging a hole deeper and deeper. Every time he opened his mouth. I said, there's no excuse. He says, there is no excuse how you can have that there. But he continued to try to justify that it was there for some bona fide reason, that he was using it in quote unquote Krishna service. So this is how the mind, how Maya works. So one cannot in any way or shape or form think that he has the ability to fight Maya in that way. No. You fight Maya by staying strict to the vows. What did Prabhupada say? One devotee asked him, how can I be successful in Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, by following all the little rules and regulations. Because those are meant to act like, what do they call those guardrails on the highway? You know, sometimes, and they have many things now, actually, some innovations. You have what's called a rumble strip. Everybody know what a rumble strip is? On the edge of the highway. So you have the paved surface of the roadway, and then there's the shoulder, which is not meant to be driven on, and then there's the guardrail. So they have made the edge of the road bumpy. It's called a rumble strip. As soon as the car's tire hits it, you go. So then you realize, oh, I'm off the road. So the devotee is practicing Krishna consciousness. What is he doing? He's learning shlokas. He's studying. And then all of a sudden, he's going a little bit off the road, and then there's his god brothers or Krishna for within the heart reminds him, hey, what are you doing? You're off the path. Get back on the path. So the devotees, the sincere devotees, his God brothers and God sisters, they're reminding him that no, Prabhu, that's Maya. That's Maya. You're not coming to Mangalarti, you're not attending the program, you're not chanting your rounds, you're wandering around by yourself. These things are all indication that you're off the path. You're in the realm of the rumble strip. You haven't maybe hit the guardrail yet, but you're close. From wherever and whenever the mind wanders due to its restless and unsteady nature, one has to drag it back under the control of the self. Under the control of the self. The Krishna conscious self, that is the only real self. That is who you have to identify as. You have to identify as a devotee. So many people are self-identifying as things which are totally unreal. You have people self-identifying as the opposite sex. You have people identifying as anything. There's a type of insanity. I was like a person, the stereotypical person in a mental institution previously. He was thinking he was Napoleon. That was the joke. I don't know where that sprung from, but it was common enough that it entered into the, like the movies and books and jokes. Yes. The person was thinking he's Napoleon, obviously he's insane. But yet people now are thinking there's so many things that they're not. So how are they not insane? No, they are. There's no doubt. But the whole world is completely reversed in Kali Yuga. And those things are accepted for some reason. Why? Because they have no real intelligence. They see things not based on Shastra, not based on logic, not based on evidence, but only through their mind. Atmavan manyate jagat. One sees the universe or sees others through his own mind, not by any other objective reality. Just whatever he thinks. This is a definition of crazy. Definition of illusion. That which is not. That which is not. So one has to read the Shastra in order to have a firm point of reference, that this is reality. That's the first understanding in Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitavocha paramo nirmatranam satam. To giving what? The understanding of what is reality and what is illusion for the benefit of all humankind, all mankind. That this is real Dharma, not cheating, not this kaitav Dharma. Real Dharma. To give people the understanding what is the difference between reality and illusion. So anyway, we're very fortunate that we have opportunity to be firmly fixed and then to be able to explain through the activities that Srila Prabhupada recommended, book distribution, the Sunday feasts, the festivals, all these things are, in one sense, they get seen as a big botheration. We have to do so much effort. You have to bring the boga from another place, all the produce, dozens and dozens of boxes, and transport it and deliver it to the temple, and then carry it down the stairs and put it in the kitchen, and then cut it, cook it, serve it. So much endeavor. But why? Just to please the spiritual master in Krishna and to give the living entity an opportunity to be purified. So there's nothing selfish about this. There's nothing selfish. The devotees anyone could say, yeah, I could be doing so many other things. I could be out making money. Here I am, I'm cutting vegetables, I'm cleaning bathrooms. Why? Just so guests can come and have a good impression of the temple. So the servant of the spiritual master, disciple of the spiritual master, he accepts the role of a menial servant. Whatever spiritual master wants, whatever Krishna wants, I can do that. That's not a problem. I can accept this because I understand that the opposite is to indulge in the false ego, that I am Ishvaraham aham bhogi siddhaham balavan sukhi. That I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. Yeah, this is the material mentality. And therefore, everything seems to be beneath him. I can't do that. I am meant for better things. Right? They see us doing this type of menial service, and they think, oh, these poor people, they don't know any better. Therefore, they have to live in this situation because they can't compete in the material world. They can't exist out here. They don't have what it takes. Actually, it is just the opposite, but that's Kali Yuga. They think that that is the reality. If one is successful and he can make money, he doesn't understand that death comes to him just as it comes to everybody else. And when it does, everything is taken from him. He has nothing. And he begs for a moment more, like some pathetic child who doesn't understand the finality of encroaching death. He cannot. So we have to show compassion. And yes, there is quite some price to show compassion. It means that we have to voluntarily accept this servitude to the spiritual master and Krishna. And if one can do that, then his life is successful. In so many ways. Bhavanam jamanamante gyanavam ma prapadyante vasudeva savamiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. He is very fortunate that after many, many births and deaths, with knowledge, he surrenders to Krishna. He understands, yes. Everyone will die. So how to solve that problem? How to identify it? Because first you have to identify the problem. If you don't know that there's a problem, then you have no solution. You cannot appreciate the coming difficulties. You're oblivious. The term is oblivious. And what do they say? Ignorance is bliss. What does that mean? Because it means if you don't know, then you're foolishly happy like the animal who doesn't understand. At the next minute, he's about to have his head chopped off. Right? Ignorance is bliss. So, we should very carefully take this Krishna conscious movement to heart. Don't take it superficially. Don't think that it's just a temporary occupation. I've got nothing better to do. I'll just chill out here for a little bit and then see what happens. No. One can, of course, do that. The Bhagavad Gita says there's no loss or diminution. A little advancement saves one from the greatest fear. But having gotten that little advancement and then to again squander it, it's like saving money and then throwing it away on some useless endeavor. The best thing is to invest it properly. One has to know. And the best investment is that for a few more years of material life, if I can just remain in the association, of the bona fide mission, of the foremost acharya. Lord Chaitanya predicted specifically Although there was many predictions, only this one meets all the criteria of going outside India, of reclaiming these fallen souls, of preaching in these foreign lands like that. Many tried, but none have succeeded to the extent that Srila Prabhupada has succeeded. And those with actual intelligence have acknowledged this. Not just us, who are we, but those persons who could appreciate all those who came before Srila Prabhupada. Even Prabhupada's own spiritual master recognized that he will do everything. He will do everything. Now we understand what it means. But others could not. And that, unfortunately, didn't allow them to join, even when Srila Prabhupada asked many times, "You please come." So anyway, we have accepted this responsibility, this burden, to carry on Srila Prabhupada's mission. And it certainly is his mission, not anybody else's mission. And understanding it is the key to success. Not trying to change it, not trying to make it anything other than what it was. Books are the basis. Preaching is the essence. Purity is the force. Utility is the principle. It's a very simple thing. Prabhupada, these are not Prabhupada's exact words. These are his. He paraphrased this. He utilized it to emphasize, because it fit perfectly. So we have, anyway, if there's any questions or comments, such topics can go on. As we approach Srila Prabhupada's 125th birth anniversary, more and more we should try to appreciate who was that person. Who was that person who walked among us? The word saint sometimes is thrown around very loosely. But the connotation is that there has to be some extraordinary connection to the divine. So we could challenge anyone who can show more of a connection to the divine than Srila Prabhupada. And they will be defeated very easily. It's not by big buildings, no, but by changing the hearts of the fallen conditioned souls. That is the evidence. So any questions? I know it's getting a little late. Yes, real quickly. And loudly, since.
Thank you, Guruji, for a very nice class.
Loud.
Yeah, loud.
My voice is gone.
Your voice is also, my ears are also, so we're in bad shape.
My question is, and like you were saying, that neophytes, it's very difficult for neophytes to utilize Maya in Krishna service. So, and also, you were also mentioning about Ajamil. In those days, he saw a rare sight of Shudra and Shudrani embracing, but today it's very common. So when most of us today are maybe neophytes, when we go out for book distribution or preaching programs, we come across people, especially opposite sex, who are improperly dressed. So I see there are different book distributors across the US. Most of them are brahmacharis who go for book distribution, and they go to places like beaches or even the cities today. Opposite sex, they are not properly dressed. So is it that the book distributors or the preachers have to still approach them thinking that Krishna, Lord Chaitanya will protect me, or are there some guidelines to how much we can approach or whom we can approach and whom not? should we approach?
Well, if one is confident that he has shelter, in the order of his spiritual master, in the association of his God brothers or God sisters, as the case may be, then he can serve in any capacity in that regard. One should not exceed his own limitations. He should know what those are. If he is agitated, then obviously he should refrain. Because the two sides of Prabhupada's mission there are Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy names, and the distribution of literature. So both will serve one in equal measure. But if he has, and one also protects the other, which is why these activities went on jointly, not necessarily separately. Yes, going out individually. And how do we also protect ourselves? We protect ourselves because we present ourselves as preachers. If we go out sometimes dressed in street clothes, then that becomes a little part of our identity is lost. And so one has to be very careful. He has to be very advanced, or he has to be very careful. He cannot be careless, and he cannot be immature. Right? And he has to be firmly fixed. I mean, we know that there's Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. There are no Uttamas. And we all accept that we are Kanishtas. But we can act on the platform of Madhya, means that based on the firm faith in my spiritual master in Krishna, I will accept that this service should be executed. And I will do it in such a way that Maya will have a difficult time, because I will remain so constantly engaged in speaking the philosophy to these individuals, regardless of their bodily manifestation, that Krishna will protect. He will protect. But if you are choosing to selectively approach the opposite sex because you think I will have better results, then it is just a matter of time before that manifests as a weakness, a preconceived, what do you want to call it, misconception. Rather, one should try and concentrate on how, because it's easy, to flatter a person. And traditionally we see that, yes, a lot of book distributors, because we understand that those in the female bodies are also somewhat more devotionally inclined at times, it seems. Nectar devotion gives some evidence in that regard, that women have softer hearts. But like I said, it is not for those who are not, who don't have the resources to come back and sit with their God brothers and take their spiritual bath by absorbing themselves in the struggle. Because, yeah, even in the material world, they have dirty jobs. And you're going to get dirty. But when you come back, you take a shower. So when you go out and you're all day out there in Maya, you have to come back and take your spiritual bath. You have to see the deities, which you should carry that impression with in your heart all day long, which will also protect you. But when you come back, of course, you must become cleansed, by the speaking about and hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the preachers of the Krishna conscious movement. All these things help one to recover his healthy spiritual state of mind. But yes, you go out, you fight Maya. Sometimes you're approaching, but you don't, you can easily get over these things. It's not difficult. for someone who's a little mature. But yes, a neophyte should not do it just because he thinks, oh, I'll be able to sell a bhakti stack because it's easier to just deal with the ladies. No, it's not about numbers. Any other questions? Then it's time for Mahaprasad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai, Krishna Janmashtami Mahamahotsav ki jai.